And we now shift our focus to breaking news coming in, where we learn that Ukraine attacked Moscow on Sunday with at least 34 drones, the biggest drone attack strike on the Russian capital, ladies and gentlemen, since the start of the war in 2022, forcing flights to be diverted from 3 of the city's major airports and injuring at least 1 person. Russian Air Defense Forces destroyed another 36 drones over other regions of Western Russia in 3 hours today, is what the Defense Ministry of Russia have to say. They also said that an attempt by the Kiev regime to carry out a terrorist attack using an airplane-type drone on the territory of Russian Federation was thwarted, is what the Defense Ministry of Russia has to say. So that's the big breaking news that's coming in, where there is a major escalation in the Russia versus Ukraine war, where Ukraine has launched the biggest attack on Moscow after the commencement of the war in 2022, where Ukraine attacked Moscow on the wee hours today with at least 32 drones. We'll see if we can go across to our newsroom, reporters live for more details or the same. But what we do know is that Russian Air Defense shot down 32 drones flying towards Moscow over 2 districts of the Moscow region, as well as home to one of the city's biggest airports. What we do know is several flights have been diverted. 1 person has been injured, and this comes as a major escalation in the Russia versus Ukraine war, which started in the year 2022. What we do not know right now is the reason behind the sudden escalation of the attack from the side of Ukraine. But those are the visuals on your screens, where we learned that 32 drones were fired towards Moscow by Ukraine. The airports, what we do know, have resumed their operations. Russia's aviation watchdog is keeping an eye on all the latest developments. For more details on the same, we have Suesha joining me live from the newsroom. Suesha, this is a sudden escalation in the Russia versus Ukraine war since the commencement of the war in the year 2022. What could be the major reason behind the sudden escalation?
Well, Tanisha, on that front, we really have the Russian version coming in on this. Rightly said that while one would hope for de-escalation, that is far from happening, given this recent development of the biggest escalation that has been seen between Russia and Ukraine that is being reported now. We are learning that Ukraine has attacked Moscow with 34 drones, and this is the biggest strike on the Russian capital. Now, what we are gathering from our sources that Ukraine attacked Moscow on Sunday with 34 drones. This, of course, being the biggest drone strike on the Russian capital since the start of the war in 2022, and 3 flights that have also been diverted as a result to the city's major airports, and injuring 1 person is what Russia is claiming. Now, Russian Air Defense has also destroyed 36 drones over other regions of Western Russia in 3 hours on Sunday, is what Russia is saying. The Russian Defense Ministry is saying that an attempt by the Kiev regime to carry out a terrorist attack using an airplane-type drones on the territory of the Russian Federation was thwarted. So Russia in turn is claiming that they have also destroyed 36 drones. Russia's Federal Air Transport Agency has said that 3 airports have diverted at least 36 flights, and 1 person has been reportedly injured in Moscow. Moscow and its surrounding regions, which has a population of over 21 million people. And remember, it is one of the biggest metropolitan areas in Europe. Now, Russia has launched a record of 145 drones that were fired overnight. This is what Ukraine had claimed. And Kiev has said that its air defense has downed 62 of those. Ukraine has also said that it attacked an arsenal in the Bryansk region of Russia, which reported 14 drones that had been downed in the region. In fact, an unverified video that is also doing the rounds, Tanisha, which was posted on Russian Telegram channels, and that is primarily being played in the 2.5-year-old war. This is one of the biggest escalation that has been seen ever since the war has been ongoing. And Russia is now saying that this could be the final act after Moscow's forces advance at the fastest pace ever. Now, let's understand that in the recent US polls where Donald Trump emerged victorious, had also, as one of his poll promises, said that he would end the Ukraine-Russia war in a day. But that is far from what has happened given this recent escalation. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had also called up Trump to congratulate him, this according to various reports. So as we understand that Kiev itself targeted mass drone strikes from Russian forces, but Russia is claiming that while they have downed those drones, this is the biggest escalation that has been seen in the last 2.5 years ever since the Russia-Ukraine conflict broke out.
Right. Right, Suesha, as you were telling us, Kyiv is now claiming that Russia launched a record of 145 drones, and this is overnight. So rightly, as Kyiv has been claiming that this drone attack comes right after the Russian authorities launched 145 drones overnight on Kyiv, is what Ukraine has been claiming. There will be possible ramifications, but keeping in mind the history that Russia and Ukraine war have had, especially when it comes to larger ramifications in and around the surrounding countries, also in India, what do you believe could be the possible implications that it could have on India?
The Indian side, Tanisha, as we understand, has pretty much kept things neutral so far as Ukraine and Russia are concerned. Humanitarian aid has been provided to Ukraine. On the other hand, Russia is also equally friendly, and India has always urged for de-escalation. India has said that this is not the time for war, this is the time for peace to resume. And like we were saying, even during the US polls that we were covering, that one of the promises that Trump has made is that Russia and Ukraine war is certainly something that he will end in 24 hours, which was very much in favor of India, given the kind of position that we have been taking so far. Now, as far as Moscow and Kiev are concerned, this was sort of on expected lines because both have sought to buy and develop new drones. They've deployed them in innovative ways. They've sought newer ways of destroying the drones that are fired from the other side, and farmers' shotguns to advanced electronic jamming systems that have also been deployed. So they are certainly advancing their systems, but this certainly marks a whole new turn in the 2.5-year-old war, because this sort of an escalation and how it can be controlled is the biggest question that we are waiting to get answers to.
Right, Suesha, stay with us. We'll come back to you. But what I would like to do now is recall for our viewers for what has actually happened. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about here is the biggest strike that Ukraine has launched on Moscow with over 34 drones, and this has happened over a span of just few hours. It started with the early hours, in the wee hours today, and what we do know is Russia has shot down drones. Flights have been diverted. However, operations at the Russian airports have resumed, and this comes as the biggest attack that Ukraine has launched since the commencement of the war in the year 2022. So 2.5 years after the war started between Russia and Ukraine, this is the latest escalation in the war, where we learned that Ukraine has attacked Moscow with at least 34 drones, and this is the biggest drone strike on the Russian capital. This has forced flights to be diverted from 3 of the city's major airports and injuring at least 1 person. So 1 person has been injured in the attack. We do not know the identity of the person. However, we are also getting in a statement from Russian air defense forces, where they say that they have destroyed over 36 drones over the region. Now, I'm also being joined by Tatiana. She's a journalist based in Russia. Tatiana, thank you for speaking to Republic. This is a major escalation that we witnessed after 2.5 years since the commencement of the Ukraine and Russia war. How is the Russian authorities planning to retaliate to that?
Well, look, I'm not sure we can call it a major escalation at all, really, because we get attacks by drones on the capital if not on a daily, but on a weekly basis, at least. All of the drones have been shot down. 34 of them over the Moscow region, so they didn't even reach the city at all. So if we're talking about an escalation, it was quite an unsuccessful one. An unsuccessful attempt at an escalation. Also, just to clarify, all of the airports, the three major airports, were not the ones affected. There were three airports that were affected in terms of the limits to land planes, but or the fourth one didn't even get affected. And this is routine procedure. This is what happens anytime where there's a serious attempt of a drone attack. So all of these airports were basically I wouldn't say used to this by this time, but it's routine procedure when there's a drone attack in progress. The airports take measures of security, and I believe there was 36 planes that were rerouted. But again, this is a matter of precaution rather than actual, because none of the drones were, successful in reaching supposed targets. We don't even know what they were.
Right. But I also want to understand from you that Russia is claiming that they downed 36 of those drones. Now, while one was hoping for de-escalation on both sides, with this latest offensive by Ukraine, how is Russia likely to respond next?
Well, 34 drones over Moscow region, 14 over the region of Bryansk, 7 over Kaluga region, 7 over Orlov region, 6 over Kursk region, and another 2 over Tula region, but who's counting? Look, I don't believe that the military, if any country, during an active military operation, is going to disclose how they're going to retaliate. This would be rather inefficient of them. So far, I think we've said it countless times from my side of this conflict, at least, from Moscow, we haven't really seen any sign of a will to kind of downgrade hostilities from the Ukrainian side. They keep talking the talk sometimes, somehow, but not even that much. But since this is what continues, I don't think that we can really honestly speak of a willingness to either scale down hostilities from the Ukrainian side or even and God forbid negotiate. So we'll have to wait and see what the retaliation is going to be. But I, again, have to stress that it is a massive attempted attack if you look at the numbers, but we have been facing these for months, for years, basically now. And, it's not exactly being blown out that much out here. I'm in central Moscow. I can see the Ministry of Defense from here. I don't see any, significant activity out there. Our air defense systems are working. They have been working since the beginning of the attempts to attack Moscow by Ukraine. Obviously, it's a flashy target, the city, but we're seeing increased efficiency of our air defense systems. These drones are being downed further away from the outskirts even of the city. It's not even, it's Moscow region. They haven't even, gone into the city. And I believe, the biggest concern for us right now is that people are still, getting hurt in these attempted attacks. But in terms of negotiations or any other real steps towards the solution of the conflict, it's the story of the boy who cried wolf. Ukrainian side keeps talking about potentially maybe something someday, one day, but then they launch these drones. So you can't really believe that, can you?
Right. Right. Tatiana and Suesha, thank you both for joining us on the bulletin. We'll keep coming back to you on the top story. Visuals on your screen where we know that Ukraine has launched the biggest drone strike on Moscow, and this comes after 2.5 years of the war that started in the year 2022. That's the biggest attack on Moscow from Ukraine.